coffee splashed across Mia Johnson's white blouse in slow motion, the hot liquid seeping through the fabric as she gasped. Derek, the cocky junior executive who'd been texting while walking, looked up too late, his eyes widening in horror. "Oh, God, I'm so sorry," he stammered, but Mia was already assessing the damage. The brown stain spread across her chest like a map of disaster, and she had exactly 45 minutes before the board presentation, where she was supposed to brief the directors on the quarterly projections. "It's fine," she said, forcing a smile even as her heart raced. This was her third week as executive assistant to Ethan Drake, the brilliant and infuriatingly distant billionaire CEO of Drake Enterprises, and she couldn't afford any mistakes. Not when 3 assistants before her had quit within months. Not when she had dreams of starting her own consulting firm and needed this experience, these connections, this chance to prove herself in a world that constantly questioned whether a Black woman belonged in these spaces. Claire, the receptionist who'd become her only ally in this chrome and glass fortress, rushed over with napkins. "There's an unused office on the 14th floor, room 2B. No one ever goes there. You can change in private." Mia nodded, grabbing her emergency bag from her desk. She always kept a backup outfit in her car for situations exactly like this. 3 older brothers had taught her to be prepared for anything. The elevator ride felt eternal. She clutched her bag, mentally running through the presentation notes. Ethan Drake was particular about everything. No, particular was too kind. He was exacting, demanding, and had a reputation for being emotionally unavailable. But Mia had seen something else in the past weeks. Behind those cold gray eyes and sharp suits, she'd glimpsed someone lonely, someone who'd built an empire but forgotten how to be human. Room 2B was dusty and half-furnished, clearly abandoned months ago. Mia locked the door, or at least she thought she did. The old lock was finicky, but it seemed to catch. She pulled off her stained blouse, standing in her camisole as she rifled through her bag for the crisp navy button-down she kept for emergencies. Meanwhile, 3 floors up, Ethan Drake was losing his patience. The Nakamura files were missing, and his memory insisted they were in that old office on 14. He grabbed his master key, phone pressed to his ear, as his attorney droned on about contract stipulations. "I know they're in 2B. I'll grab them now," he said, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the marble floor as he strode toward the elevator. He barely looked up from his phone as he unlocked the door to 2B, his mind on the files, on the merger, on the 17 things that needed his attention in the next hour. He pushed the door open, still reading an email. "Finally, I need those." Time stopped. Mia spun around, clutching her shirt to her chest, her eyes wide with shock. Ethan's brain short-circuited, his phone forgotten as he registered what he was seeing. His assistant, half-dressed, in front of him. "Oh my God," he choked out. "Ethan." Mia's voice was sharp with surprise and something else, maybe embarrassment, maybe anger. His face flushed red, a color she'd never seen on the usually composed CEO. He immediately spun around so fast he nearly dropped his phone, covering his eyes with one hand even though he was already facing the door. The door was..." The normally articulate billionaire couldn't form a complete sentence. "I thought this room was empty. I was looking for files. I didn't think anyone would be here. I should have knocked. I always knock. I don't know why I didn't knock." "Ethan," Mia said, her voice steadier now, though her heart was hammering. "It's okay. Just step outside." "Yes, outside, immediately. I'm going. I'm so sorry. He backed toward the door, misjudged the distance, and walked straight into the doorframe with a thud that would have been comical if the situation weren't so mortifying. He finally escaped into the hallway, closing the door firmly behind him. In the hallway, Ethan leaned against the wall, his heart pounding. "What is wrong with you?" he muttered to himself. In 15 years of running a multi-billion-dollar company, he'd never been so unprofessional, never been so careless. Inside, Mia took a shaky breath, then surprised herself by laughing. The look on his face, the way he'd practically tripped over himself to leave, the genuine horror in his voice. It was almost endearing. Almost. She quickly pulled on her navy shirt, checked her reflection in the dusty window, and took a moment to compose herself. This was going to be awkward, but she'd survived worse. Growing up with 3 older brothers meant embarrassment was just another Tuesday. 20 minutes later, she knocked on Ethan's office door. He was pacing like a caged animal, his usually perfect hair disheveled from running his hands through it. When he saw her, he immediately stood at attention. "Mia, I cannot apologize enough. That was completely inappropriate and unprofessional. I should have knocked. I should have called first. I should have..." She held up her hand, And to her surprise, he stopped mid-sentence. "Ethan, breathe." He took a breath, his shoulders dropping slightly. "It was an accident," she continued, moving into the office and closing the door behind her. "A mortifying, awkward accident that we're both going to cringe about for a while, but an accident. You didn't do anything malicious. I thought I locked the door and you had a key. These things happen." "But you're my employee," he said, the words coming out strained. "I walked in on you changing. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. That's grounds for what? You immediately left. You apologized profusely. You're clearly more traumatized by this than I am." She sat down across from his desk, deliberately casual. "Look, if we make this into a big thing, it becomes a big thing. So how about we just move on? Pretend it never happened?" Ethan stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Most people in his life would have leveraged this situation, used it as ammunition or currency, but here she was, offering grace he wasn't sure he deserved. "You're remarkably gracious about this." "I have 3 older brothers," Mia said with a small smile. "Trust me, I've survived worse embarrassment. One time, Marcus brought his entire basketball team home while I was practicing my talent show dance routine in the living room, in my pajamas. This doesn't even crack the top 5. For the first time in what felt like years, Ethan Drake genuinely smiled. Not his board meeting smile or his investor call smile, but a real smile that reached his eyes and softened the hard edges of his face. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for handling this with such grace." Mia stood smoothing her shirt. "Just maybe knock next time? Even if you think a room is empty." "I promise." As she turned to leave, she paused at the door. "And Ethan, if you bring this up again or start treating me differently because of it, then it becomes weird. So let's just be normal." She left, and Ethan sank into his chair, staring at the closed door. Something had shifted, though he couldn't name it. Respect, certainly. Admiration for her composure. But something else, too. Something that made his chest feel tight and his carefully controlled world feel suddenly unstable. The next few days were, in Mia's opinion, absolutely ridiculous. On day 1, Ethan gave her a 2-hour lunch break for no reason. On day 2, a massive gift basket appeared on her desk with gourmet chocolates, fancy coffee, and spa vouchers. On day 3, he offered her front row tickets to a sold-out Broadway show. "Ethan, this is too much," she said, standing in his office doorway with the tickets in her hand. "Is it?" He looked genuinely confused. "I remembered you mentioned you like theater. These are for you. Front row." "It's too much because you're treating me differently. You're treating me like I'm fragile or like you owe me something enormous. You don't." By the end of the week, Mia had had enough. She walked into his office and closed the door with a decisive click. "Okay, we need to talk." Ethan looked up from his computer, immediately concerned. "Did I do something wrong? The tickets weren't right? I can get different ones. Ethan, stop." The command in her voice made him pause. "I appreciate the gestures, I really do," she said, moving to sit on the edge of his desk in a way that was casual and friendly rather than formal. "But you're not treating me normally anymore. You're treating me like I'm made of glass or like you owe me something. You don't. But I walked in on you. And I forgave you. I meant it when I said let's move on. But we can't move on if you keep reminding both of us about it with grand gestures." She leaned forward slightly. "Here's what I actually want. Treat me the way you did before. Challenge me. Give me real work. Trust me. That's what I came here for, not gift baskets." Ethan considered this, really considered it. She was right. He'd been so consumed with making amends that he'd created a different kind of distance between them. "You're right. I'm sorry. Again. And that's the last apology I want to hear about this. Deal?" She extended her hand. He shook it, and the familiar spark of her confidence steadied something in him. "Deal? Good. Now, do you want to tell me what's really stressing you out? Because you've had that vein in your forehead since Tuesday." Ethan laughed, actually laughed, and the sound surprised them both. "The Tokyo merger? It's complicated." "Then let's uncomplicate it. Talk me through it." He did. And for the next hour, they worked together the way they should have been all along, her sharp mind catching angles he'd missed, her questions forcing him to think differently about problems he'd been circling for weeks. The late nights started after that. Not because Ethan demanded it, but because Mia genuinely wanted to be there, wanted to learn, wanted to be part of something bigger. At 10 p.m. on a Thursday, they sat surrounded by Chinese takeout containers and laptops, the city glittering below them through floor-to-ceiling windows. Wait, they want 17% or they walk? Mia said, reading from her screen. Ridiculous, right? Ethan replied, loosening his tie. Ridiculous? That's insulting. You're bringing them a ready-made market. Counter at 9 and make them grateful. Ethan set down his chopsticks, studying her. You sound like you've done this before. I haven't, Mia admitted, taking a bite of lo mein, but I've studied enough deals to know desperation when I see it. They need you more than you need them. Why are you working as an assistant, Mia? The question came out more intense than he'd intended. You could be running your own company. She paused, meeting his eyes across the desk. Because I'm learning. From the best. The best? People call me a tyrant. You're not a tyrant, you're exacting. There's a difference. She set down her food, her expression turning serious. And for what it's worth, I am planning to run my own company someday. A consulting firm focused on helping minority-owned small businesses scale. That's the dream. That's incredible. Ethan's voice was soft with genuine admiration. Why someday? Why not now? Because dreams take capital, connections, and confidence. I'm building all three here. She smiled. You're my MBA, Ethan Drake. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something in his chest cracked open. You're going to be extraordinary. I'm working on it. Their eyes held for a moment that stretched too long to be professional, too charged to be simple friendship. Mia was the first to look away, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. The gala invitation appeared on Ethan's desk the following week, embossed and pretentious. He stared at it with the enthusiasm of someone facing a root canal. What's wrong? Mia asked, bringing in his afternoon coffee. The annual Children's Healthcare Charity Gala. I'm expected to attend, smile, write checks, make small talk with people I can't stand. Sounds terrible. It is. I usually bring a date just to have someone to talk to, but I haven't had time to. He stopped, an idea forming. It was probably a bad idea. Definitely a bad idea. Would you consider coming? As my guest? Strictly professional? You'd be helping me survive 3 hours of networking. Mia hesitated. That sounds suspiciously like a date. It's not, Ethan said quickly, though something in his stomach twisted at the denial. It's work. You'd be doing me a favor. I'll even pay overtime. She considered, then smiled. All right, but you're not paying me overtime for eating fancy food. The night of the gala, Ethan stood in the Grand Hotel ballroom feeling like he was waiting for something important. He checked his watch, checked it again. Then he saw her. Mia descended the staircase in an emerald green gown that made her skin glow. Her natural hair was styled in elegant curls that framed her face, and she moved with the kind of confidence that made people turn and stare. Ethan forgot how to breathe. She approached him, a nervous smile on her face. Too much? I wasn't sure about the dress code. No. His voice came out rough. You're beautiful. You look absolutely beautiful, Mia. She ducked her head, but he could see the pleased smile. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. He offered his arm, and when she took it, something settled in him that he hadn't known was restless. They walked into the ballroom together, and cameras flashed. Society photographers assumed they were a couple, and Ethan didn't correct them as quickly as he should have. The evening unfolded like a dream. Mia charmed everyone she met, her warmth and intelligence making even the stuffiest board members smile. When they danced, she fit perfectly against him, and Ethan wondered how he'd ever thought himself complete before this moment. On the terrace, under string lights and stars, they stood close together looking at the city. Thank you for inviting me, Mia said softly. This is magical. Thank you for saying yes. Ethan turned to face her, and they were so close he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. The world narrowed to just the two of them, the space between them charged with possibility. He started to lean in, his heart pounding. Ethan, there you are. They broke apart as a board member approached, and the moment shattered like glass. In the town car, on the way home, they sat in loaded silence. The city lights painted patterns across their faces as they avoided looking at each other directly. I meant what I said earlier. Ethan finally spoke. You were the best part of tonight. This can't. Mia's voice was quiet. We can't. I know. You're my boss. I know. This is complicated. I know. The car pulled up to her building. Mia hesitated, her hand on the door. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Mia." But neither of them moved for a long moment, the air between them heavy with everything they weren't saying. The rumors started on Monday morning. Mia arrived to find people whispering, averting their eyes. Claire looked uncomfortable as she approached. "What's going on?" Mia asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "There are rumors," Claire said quietly, "about you and Mr. Drake. The gala photos hit the society pages. People are saying things." Mia's world tilted. She'd known this was a risk, but knowing and experiencing were different things. Every sideways glance felt like an accusation. Every whispered conversation felt like judgment. In the board meeting that afternoon, Richard Hayes, a senior board member with a reputation for being ruthless, brought it up directly. "Before we conclude, I think we need to address the elephant in the room. Your relationship with your assistant." Ethan's expression turned glacial. "There is no relationship. Miss Johnson attended a charity function as my guest. That's all." "Come now, Ethan. The photos tell a different story, and I've noticed her rapid advancement, the special treatment." "Special treatment?" Ethan stood, his voice deadly quiet. "Mia Johnson is the most competent assistant this company has ever had. She earned every opportunity she's received." "I'm sure she did, but perception matters. We've had to involve HR as a precaution, standard protocol for potential conflicts of interest." After the meeting, Mia couldn't take it anymore. She started packing her personal items into a box, each object a small goodbye, her favorite mug. The plant Claire had given her, the award for Employee of the Month that now felt tainted. Ethan found her like that, and his face went pale. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done weeks ago. I'm resigning." "No, absolutely not." "Ethan, they're saying I slept my way into this job." Her voice cracked, tears threatening. "They're saying everything I've accomplished here is because you like me, not because I'm good at what I do." "That's not true, and you know it." "But I can't prove it." She turned to face him, and he saw the pain in her eyes. "And as long as I'm here, as long as there's even a question about us, it undermines everything. My reputation, your company, the work we've done. Don't you understand? I've spent my entire life proving I belong in rooms I'm not supposed to be in, and now they have an excuse to say I didn't earn it. So you're just going to leave? Give up?" "I'm protecting myself." The words came out sharp, angry. "Something I've had to do my entire career. You don't understand what it's like to have people question whether you belong somewhere, to wonder if every achievement is real or just a favor. You've never had to prove your humanity before proving your competence." Her words hit him like a physical blow. She was right. He'd never had to carry that weight. "I can't be here anymore," Mia said, softer now. "Not like this." She picked up her box and walked away, and Ethan stood frozen, watching the best thing that had happened to him in years disappear through the elevator doors. That night, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse. The city sprawled below him, millions of lights representing millions of lives, and he'd never felt more isolated. He stared at his phone, at Mia's contact information, typing and deleting messages he didn't have the courage to send. Finally, he looked at a framed photo on his desk. Him receiving some award, looking successful and utterly alone. When had he become this person? When had he let fear dictate his choices? He picked up the phone and made a call. "Richard, it's Ethan. I need to call an emergency board meeting. Tomorrow morning. Non-negotiable." The board looked surprised when Ethan called the meeting to order the next day. Richard wore a smug expression that Ethan wanted to wipe off his face. "I called this meeting to address the rumors about my relationship with Mia Johnson," Ethan began, his voice steady and clear. "Wise decision," Richard started. "Perhaps we can discuss a quiet severance package." "I'm not finished." The steel in Ethan's voice silenced the room. "Ms. Johnson is the most talented professional I've ever worked with. She increased our operational efficiency by 32%. She caught 3 major contract errors that would have cost us millions. She brought humanity back to a company that was drowning in its own ambition." He looked directly at Richard. "And yes, I have feelings for her. Real feelings. But I never acted on them while she was my employee. I never gave her preferential treatment beyond what her exceptional performance earned. Every advancement she received was documented, justified, and deserved." The board members shifted uncomfortably. "The optics," someone started. "The optics," Ethan cut them off, "are that a brilliant woman is being driven out of her job because people can't believe she earned it. That's not an optics problem. That's a values problem. That's our problem. He paused, letting the words land. So here's what's going to happen. I'm establishing a company-wide policy for transparency and promotions. Every advancement will be reviewed by a committee, not just by supervisors. We're also creating an anonymous reporting system for concerns about favoritism, and I'm personally investing $2 million in Mia Johnson's new consulting firm, which she will run independently. The room erupted in murmurs. She won't work here anymore, Ethan continued, not because she did anything wrong, but because she deserves to build something of her own. And if anyone has a problem with me supporting a talented entrepreneur with complete transparency and a standard investment contract reviewed by external counsel, then I suggest you bring it to the next shareholders meeting, because I'm done defending good people to small minds. He gathered his materials. This meeting is adjourned. The silence behind him felt like victory. That evening, Ethan stood outside Mia's apartment door, more nervous than he'd been before any business deal. He knocked, and when she opened the door in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, her eyes red from crying, his heart broke. Ethan? How did you find my address? It's in HR. I should have called first. I'm sorry. I just needed to see you. She stepped aside, letting him into her modest apartment. It was warm and lived in, so different from his sterile penthouse, with photos of her family and art on the walls and books stacked everywhere. I spoke to the board today, he said. And I told them the truth, all of it. He turned to face her. I told them you're brilliant, that you earned everything, and that I have feelings for you, feelings I've been too afraid to acknowledge because I was worried about what people would think, about power dynamics, about keeping everything compartmentalized and safe. Ethan, her voice was barely a whisper, I'm not asking you to come back to Drake Enterprises. You were right. You deserve to build your own empire. So I want to invest in your consulting firm. $2 million. Standard terms, vetted by external lawyers, everything transparent and legal. I can't accept that. It's not charity. It's an investment. I believe in you, Mia. I believe in what you want to build. Why are you doing this? Ethan stepped closer and she could see vulnerability in his eyes she'd never seen before. Because somewhere between you calling me out for being awkward and sharing Chinese food at midnight, I fell for you, and I don't want power dynamics or job titles or anyone's opinions to stop us from seeing where this could go. Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks. I was so scared. Of people thinking I didn't earn my place. Of proving every stereotype right. You earned everything. And anyone who can't see that isn't worth your time. But if we do this, if I take the investment, if we try this together, people will still talk. Let them talk. You'll be running your own company. I'll be running mine. We'll be equals. What we do in our personal lives is no one's business but ours. Mia wiped her eyes, laughing through tears. You really want to invest $2 million in me? I'd invest $10 million if you'd let me. You're going to change lives, Mia. I want to be part of that journey. What if it doesn't work? The business or us? Ethan took her hands gently. Then, at least we tried. At least we were brave enough to take the chance. She looked at their joined hands, then up at his face, open and hopeful and terrified. I have feelings for you too. Have for a while now. Yeah? Yeah. But Ethan, I need you to understand. I need to build this on my own. I need to prove to myself that I can do this. I know. That's why I'm offering capital and then getting out of your way. You're really not going to tell me how to run my business? She smiled through her tears. I'm going to do my absolute best to keep my mouth shut, though I might fail occasionally. I'll hold you to that. They stood close, the air between them electric with possibility. Ethan cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away her tears. I'm going to kiss you now, if that's okay. I thought you'd never ask. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, then deeper as months of tension and longing finally found release. Mia's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and Ethan wrapped his arms around her like he was afraid she might disappear. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Mia laughed. So this is really happening? If you'll have me. I will. But Ethan, we're doing this right. No shortcuts, no special treatment, no questions about whether I earned what I built. Agreed. You're going to build an empire, and I'm just going to be the guy who's incredibly proud of you. 6 months later, Mia stood in her new office, the words MJ Consulting Group etched on the glass door. She just finished a meeting with 3 small business owners, helping them develop strategies to scale sustainably. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Saw your Forbes feature, told you, extraordinary. She smiled, typing back, stop reading articles about me at work. You have a company to run. So do you. Dinner tonight? I'm cooking. You mean you're ordering from that Italian place and pretending you cooked? You know me too well. That evening they walked hand in hand through Central Park, the autumn leaves golden in the fading light. They looked like any other couple, relaxed and happy, both in jeans and sweaters instead of business attire. The Ramirez grocery store landed that distribution deal, Mia said. I heard. You made that happen. They made it happen. I just showed them the path. Ethan pulled her closer. Take the win, Mia. She laughed. Fine. I'm amazing. Finally, she admits it. They stopped at a bench overlooking the lake, and Mia leaned against him, content. You know, I was thinking about that day. The incident. Ethan groaned. We agreed never to speak of it again. I know, but if it hadn't happened, would we be here? You were so mortified that you actually started seeing me as a person instead of just an assistant. And I saw that you weren't just this cold CEO. You were human. So you're saying I should walk in on people changing more often? She shoved him playfully. That's not what I'm saying. He laughed, pulling her close. I know what you mean. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. Exactly. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the world go by. Joggers passed, families walked together, couples like them found, moments of peace in the chaos of the city. I love you, Mia Johnson, Ethan said quietly. She lifted her head to look at him, her eyes shining. I love you too, Ethan Drake. They kissed as the sun set behind them, 2 people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way, who'd chosen to be brave when it would have been easier to be safe, who'd built something beautiful on a foundation of mutual respect and shared dreams. Sometimes love arrives through awkward apologies and late-night takeout, and the courage to choose each other when the world says you shouldn't. Sometimes the best partnerships are built not on perfect circumstances, but on the willingness to be extraordinary together. And sometimes, just sometimes, coffee stains and embarrassing moments and the courage to be vulnerable lead to something worth more than any empire. A love that sees you, challenges you, and believes in you even when you're still learning to believe in yourself. If you enjoyed Mia and Ethan's journey from that awkward encounter to building their dreams together, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more heartwarming love stories. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite moment from their story, and smash that like button if you believe in taking chances on love. Thanks for watching, and remember, you always earn your place, and the right person will see your worth without you having to prove it.